This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Good morning, I'm Justin Warmoth. Between new election laws and the late adoption of new congressional maps, it is a busy time for the state's 67 election supervisors. A lot needs to be done before voters head to the polls for the August primaries, likely their first time casting a ballot since the polarizing 2020 election. Seminole County Supervisor of Elections, Chris Anderson, is here this morning to explain how he's working through some of the challenges. What is it like right now for you and your office as you prepare for the August primaries?
It's a busy time. You know, we have redistricting, and obviously that information came to us a lot later than we'd like. So we have to quickly put it all together and get it formulated and get it prepared to push out to 335,071 voters and get them to the correct place in time for the August primary.
What does that look like? Is that just, take us through that process.
Sure. So what happens is once we get the maps from the legislator, now it goes to what we call re-precincting, because obviously, counties in the state of Florida have grown, and Seminole County is one of those counties that have seen an intense amount of growth. I mean, we added 30,000 voters to the voter roll between 2018 and 2020 election cycle. So we've seen an intense amount of growth, and we're looking to probably expand our precincts to 2 more precincts from 80 to 82. And that's just a result of the growth that we've seen in the county. So we've got to redraw those precinct lines. And as I always say, no one builds a precinct for us. So we actually got to get out of the office and go and hunt down precincts or locations and ask that they please serve as precincts. And that's a process in itself. Also making sure that we get our voter cards out. You know, we have to do a voter card mailing, to which we will do in June to alert voters to their new precinct and where they're supposed to go. So it's a lot of moving parts that we look forward to putting a close to here in the very near future.
You know, some folks in Seminole County are getting new congressional district, as we've been mentioning. You know, they'll have a new member of Congress, a new representative. So I think a lot of folks are just like, hey, how will I know what my district looks like and things like that. And that will take, I know that's probably a huge effort on your part to raise awareness to the public. And that's such a huge focus, I'm sure, for your department.
Absolutely. Some supervisors in the state of Florida have a more of a struggle than others. And what that means is, every congressional map we saw prior to the approval of it said that Seminole County would be in one congressional district. So that for us said, okay, well, we're not really going to see much of a change for us, but our sister county down to the south of us, Orange, they're going to have about 4 congressional districts within that county. So that, my brother Bill, as I call him, Bill Cowles, the Orange County Supervisor of Elections, is going to have a little bit different of a lift when it comes to something like that. Of course, our congressional district did change. Now it's all of Seminole going northeast up into the Daytona Beach area, just past Orange City. So yes, we're enjoined with another county. It once was Orange, now it's Volusia, but we're still all in one. So it's not as heavy of a lift for Seminole. So it really is a case by case basis with each jurisdiction.
Any challenges that you're finding when it comes to that redistricting as we get closer?
It really just comes down to the technical work of working inside of the databases that we have to do redistricting, and the challenges that come with exporting and importing the data. So for right now, we're working through it. We look forward to being able to have that information pushed out. We have an FAQ on our website that will answer some questions for voters that are concerned about redistricting. I can tell you that here in Seminole County, we have 4 House districts, 36, 37, 38, and 39 now. So kind of goes in a clockwise motion throughout the county. So on the state level, we saw some changes in our House district numbers. So that's so those things are things that we address in the FAQ and give voters kind of a heads up of what they can anticipate moving forward.
Not only are you dealing with redrawn districts and that late filing, but also we have a new law the governor just signed What can you tell us about this and how it'll impact not only you, but the voters who in Seminole County who will be heading to the polls?
Well, right now with that ruling, and as you mentioned, Senate Bill 90, that was passed in 2021, and now the new bill, which is Senate Bill 524. Basically, we're kind of at a standstill with the ruling that came from the federal court. And until that is properly litigated, once again, supervisors, we kind of find ourselves in a bit of a holding pattern. But as always, we make sure that we absorb any of the shrapnel, if you will, from any of that, and make sure that our voters don't feel any of that as they go out and cast their ballots.
So the new one that was just signed by the governor, essentially, among a lot of other things, but one of the main points here is that it'll create a police unit to investigate voter fraud and other election-related crimes. Is that something that you feel is needed in the state?
I will say that as we move forward and we look at 21st century elections, I hope that this unit would not just be focused on being reactive, but also being proactive and addressing a lot of the issues that we have. In Seminole County, I created the Evolve Project, which is enhancing the voting operations to lift the voter experience. And we're partnering with the Florida National Guard. We are the only county in the state of Florida that the Florida National Guard cybersecurity unit is working with. We have dis, and malinformation out there. So my hope is that this unit that is going to be on the state level can work in conjunction with our partnership and it be more of a proactive response to the threats that face 21st century elections, because make no mistake about it, they're out there. And I would prefer to see us get ahead of the game than just be just addressing things from a reactive standpoint.
Yeah, because you would the critics of this bill would be like, well, voter fraud and this is such a small problem, especially here in the state of Florida. According to the Secretary of State, 262 election fraud complaints, 75 of which went to law enforcement during the 2020 election, out of the nearly 11 million ballots that were cast. And essentially, but to your point, this is something that I don't have to tell you, elections and the political nature, it's very divisive. It is certainly polarizing. And so to ease voters' concerns, possibly this is a way to do it, maybe on the optics side, but you see a real benefit here.
Well, what I see is that I would hope that we're going to take a posture that we're going to prevent nefarious behavior from bad actors in and without and outside of the United States of America. And as you touted very proudly how we operated here in the state of Florida when it comes to elections, I believe that speaks directly to how my 66 other colleagues and I handled elections in the state of Florida. And that's very important to recognize. And yes, I agree that voter fraud is a very small fraction, but an important piece that still needs to be addressed. And if we're coming up with creative ways to handle that, which is not overburdening any one agency, then I'm all for that.
Ballot harvesting, it also would make that a felony from a misdemeanor. Can you explain just what ballot harvesting is to begin with?
Essentially, it's a unrelated individual that is collecting vote by mail ballots from individuals with the belief on the voters side that they're actually going to turn in those vote by mail ballots, and they're basically going to collect a large quantity and just start turning them in to locations, be it the supervisor of elections office or a secure ballot intake station, as it is now referred to from Senate Bill 524. And that is illegal. In the state of Florida, you cannot do that. You can turn in a vote by mail ballot of a family member and your own, but you can't go around and collect other vote by mail ballots from individuals that you have no relation to.
And we know how election misinformation has shifted our country's political climate over the last 2 years, and Anderson has seen this firsthand. Coming up, the death threats he's received since the 2020 election.
This is The Weekly on clickorlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Welcome back as we continue our discussion surrounding the 2022 midterms and how election supervisors are preparing as we get closer to the August primaries. Seminole County Supervisor of Elections Chris Anderson is back with us to discuss how portions of the recently signed election security bill are impacting his department. that Senate bill also would make it instead of every 2 years, every year that supervisor of elections need to clean their voter rolls. What does that mean?
That's once again, putting more work on a supervisor of election staff in a time where we're already going to be extremely busy. And I look forward to coming back and talking with you after we take on such a process, because list maintenance, as it's referred to, is a big job. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work on your voter services unit. And to do that around the time in which you're prepping for, in this case, would be a March presidential preference election, is concerning. I can tell you that I am going to be increasing our staff as I go into budget prep for the 2022-2023 fiscal year, because I am anticipating having to do more. And of course, there will be no funding coming from the state to get this done. So it's essentially something that's just being tasked on us. And we're going to see how this works. We know how to do list maintenance, but having to do that on top of preparing for elections is much different. As it was before the law was passed, we did it biannually, which meant we did it in our off years. Now we're going to be required to do that in our even years, on top of processing information that comes from Eric and any other sources. So it's just going to be a lot more work on election offices for sure.
So is that something that the Seminole County commissioners and they're going to have to listen to you and say, listen, we need to divert some more funds to you? You hope that that is the case, certainly.
Well, the Seminole County Board of County Commission is going to have to listen to me when it comes to not just the need for personnel, but I can't hire more personnel because I don't have any space. We are tapped out in our 18,000 square foot space. Seminole County is one of the lowest offices when it comes to square footage in the building. We cannot hire as many people as we need because we just don't have space. So right now, I am asking the county to approve a building project that they have yet to do. And I would hope that they are interested in making sure that elections are safe, secure in Seminole County as it has been. And to do that, we're going to need the space and the people to be able to get that done.
I want to go back to what was decided in 2021. That legislative session, there were some election bills that were passed and then signed into law and then struck down by a federal appeals court, federal appeals judge. So did you make changes in respect to that law? And what is the case now that that federal law has been struck down and the state is appealing? So essentially you're in limbo, right?
Correct. So Senate Bill 90, which was the bill that was that we're talking about from the litigation, a lot of that really didn't affect Seminole County. One of the biggest things in that bill was addressing drop boxes that were available to turn in your vote by mail ballot after hours. You had some supervisors that had a box that was secured out front to the concrete surface to allow folks after hours to turn in vote by mail ballots. That was something that the Senate Bill 90 said was prohibited moving forward. In Seminole County, we never had such a drop box or a secure ballot intake station, as it's called now. So that didn't affect us, but it did affect other counties across the state. Again, that election bill also had things in it that were more on the administrative side of elections that didn't affect voters so much. So now, as you said, we are kind of in limbo, status quo, if you will, until it's properly litigated and we get further guidance.
Let me ask you this too. I don't have to tell you that it is a different time. People will be going to vote for the first time since 2020 and what happened after 2020. So as they go to the ballot, there might be concerns. Is that something that you will be addressing and handling as folks prepare to go vote for the first time since 2020 and what happened thereafter?
Absolutely. We've taken steps here in our office to make sure that voters understand that elections in 2020 were fair, they were safe, and they were secure, and that's going to continue. And we have partnered with the Secretary of State and a Trusted Info 2022 partnership that we are trying to stress to voters that they understand that you get your information from the supervisor of elections office when it comes to voting, because we are responsible for that. No other organization is. So we want voters to contact us with their concerns and allow us to address them, because what I see and what I've seen and what I believe is the concerns are coming from mis, dis, and malinformation. It's what they're seeing on social media sites that are being tweeted. You know, a study was done in 2018 that showed that false information was 70% more likely to be shared than that of factual information. That is a startling stat for me that really came home to me. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do something here on the local level through the Evolve Project to address those concerns from a proactive stance. And our social media is going to stay more on message. And we've also urged the Florida Supervisor of Elections Association, as I sit as a chairman of the Public Relations Committee, we're doing the same. So what you're going to see moving forward is from all supervisors and the Secretary of State is a campaign to say that you get the information from us when it comes to elections. Be careful about what you digest on these social media platforms, and just trust but verify.
I know that's something that you've been directly impacted.
Yes.
Can you tell us about what's happened in the last, I guess, year or so with threats and things like that?
Well, I can tell you it's been a very stressful moment for all election officials, including myself. I have received death threats, and it's obviously I'm a former law enforcement officer, so I understand a portion of that. But you know, I do have a wife and 3 children to keep safe as well. So and some people may say, well, that's what you signed up for, and I would argue against that. Our jobs as election administrators allow folks to make choices, and those choices are not controlled by us. And those are the outcomes that voters it's their decision, and we have to live with whatever that is. And now we've become under attack. I know that several of my colleagues have been accosted at public speaking events, and so have I. I have been accosted at public speaking events. I've had people approach me and wait for me at public speaking events to find some political discourse there that I don't engage in. So it's been a very interesting time after 2020. And again, I just want people to know that we are doing everything we can to make sure that elections continue to stay safe, and that we ran a clean election in 2020, that our governor even said we are the state to emulate and moving forward.
And it appears that political divisiveness and hostility is also impacting where voters cast their ballots. Anderson says it's becoming harder to find polling places and workers because of safety concerns, something we'll be following closely as we get closer to this year's midterms. For more on redistricting and the new election bill in Florida, just head to clickorlando.com/weekly. I'm Justin Wormuth. Hope you have a great Sunday.